Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Educational Gamer and we are playing Strategic Command WWII as the Allies. We are about to turn it over to the Axis to see what they are going to do in their mid-October turn, and we'll probably come back to the battlefield by November, by which time it's probably going to be very snowy. Nevertheless, let's talk a little bit about what we are expecting to see. So we did land in Norway over here and we are hoping to cut off the Trondheim garrison and trying to take Norway. We did also land in North Africa in Operation Torch, so the Americans making their first real battlefield appearance in Europe, so that is very good, and we are expecting to see some revolutions over here, so hopefully that will settle itself out. We've also seen that the Americans started their approach on the Solomon Islands with a marine unit landing here and potentially threatening these special forces. You know what? Actually, I think we should take this attack. There we go. Yeah, so that is going to be interesting, especially since the Japanese do have a carrier over here and at least one submarine, although I do think that these are really two submarines. We do have a couple of battleships lurking around over here, but only one really with submarine defenses. We do have some Brits coming up and potentially some Marines joining us from Australia over here. So that is going to be an interesting fight, as historically happened around Guadalcanal with very undefined supply lines, so to say. That is partially because some of our fleet needs to be reinforced. On the Eastern Front, we've made a nice little push down here in Odessa, actually cutting off Odessa from rail support. So I'm interested to see how the supply situation for the Germans will develop over here. Of course, right now they are on very good supply, but next term that might change, especially since we did kill some bombers. So I think they will pull down some troops over here, but we'll have to see. I'm a little bit worried about the position of this army in particular. I think it might be pounded pretty hard. Also, this this corps over here in the north is a little bit exposed with all these armies hanging around. More importantly, though, in Riga, the Germans made a very strong push, and I'm kind of worried about this position over here and some of the positions down here in Minsk. So that is pretty much it. Before we go ahead and do anything else, we've pretty much killed by now all of the German fleets, so let's actually take our destroyer squadrons over here and place them such that we can you actually raid? I don't think so, can you? Yeah, you can. Oh, that's interesting. Nevertheless, let's place it over here close to Kristiansand so that we are blockading that port actually, and that should be nice. And then what we can do with these other destroyers over here is bring them back to base so that we can potentially do something with them next turn. Right, so I think that about settles it for this turn for us, and we can indeed hand it over towards the Axis. So let's see what is going to happen over here, especially in North Africa. Some supply disruptions for the Axis, that is good but not critical. We are blockading Brest, and no, actually not Biscay anymore. And here we go, there is hopefully our uprising. Is there? I don't know what that will do mechanically. Interesting. I'm not sure what it did. UK develops industrial technology level 3, that's very good, so that we will receive more income. USA develops better command and control, that is nice. Logistics boost for India, that is also good to see. Nothing too exciting, except that by now really the UK should be collecting a little bit more income, which is fine and lovely. Good. I think it's actually sending a little bit more towards the USSR as well, so that is nice to see, because definitively that will help us a lot. But we are turning it over to the Axis over here, and they are certainly going to try to make a last push on the Eastern Front at the very least. Lots of reinforcements happening, that is to be expected. Some withdrawals in Northern Africa. Headquarter withdrawing to the south over here, that's interesting. That seems to... I mean, they must withdraw from Odessa unless they are pulling a lot of troops down towards the south. They actually did not withdraw from Odessa, but they are pulling down some tanks, which is to be expected. But it's nice to see that they are not acting this turn. Oh dear God. There we go, that was a Italian battleship. The Italian battleship making an appearance on us, and the Japanese submarines converging on us. However, we are intercepting some tactical bombers from the Japanese over here, that is good to see. AA fire. Yeah, Vilnius is probably going to be very strongly going to be attacked. It's kind of unfortunate because there's a little bit of rain over there. And that could have prevented their bombings if it was up to me. Failure to attack Minsk strongly. That is nice to see. Even more troops being brought up to Minsk. All in all, good battles around here. Yeah, but this one is threatened at the very least. And as I expected, they are attacking this army very strongly, even with these heavy tanks. And now it's gone. And they now will be able to interdict over here into the AA battery. That is very, very unfortunate. And down here they are bolstering their lines. Vilnius for now holding out, despite the heavy bombardments. German anti-tank units over there, fine. Yeah, and Sitomir seems to be holding out as well. And now they are more or less dispersing their attacks over here. Yeah, this position is still threatened. Japanese conducting some attacks over there, but it doesn't seem to be too critical. Yeah, but we are being pushed back. That is definitely not that great. And losing an army is really, really hurtful to us. But all in all, I'm happy about the northern front. On the southern front, really, that loss is very unfortunate for us. And it is unfortunate that they can still reinforce in Norway. So we'll have to see what we can potentially do about that. Also, this attack on the carriers is very critical. But at the very least, we know about their positions. Also, this battleship has taken quite a bit of a beating over there. And we do not... Ooh, that is very nice. Brazil joins the Allies. That is very good news for us indeed. Because it will give us more points. So event spawn troops in India. That is nice to see. And Brest is being blockaded. So, that's good. Also, lots of convoys being interrupted over here. So, let's see where that leaves us. Calculating our supply. So, I think we are gonna do as, 10th Army destroyed, lots of points lost for the Germans and the Japanese, that is very good, and Brazil has joined us, that's very nice. We do get some intel about Japanese positions, that is very important intel over the submarine over here. Whether or not there's a core in Potsdam is slightly less important. The carrier is good to know. And we learn about some troops in Japan itself. Okay, just checking what we have got as the USSR. So we've got the 1st Special Forces. That is nice, but otherwise not immediately critical. Okay, that does look like we are being surrounded down here on the southern part of the front. And of course they did make that push inwards. So what we could think about is actually withdrawing a little bit towards Kiev and establishing a new line. Down here in the south as well, it doesn't look like we'll be able to punch through over here at all actually. So yeah, these German tanks are much better than ours. So that is something that we are continuously struggling with. We don't seem to be able to make much of an impression against Odessa as well. Neither do I believe that we'll be able to cut these guys off entirely. So yeah, their supply is actually still very strong. So I think we will have to withdraw over here at the very least and then see what we can do. These heavy German tanks are a tempting target. They are comparatively weak. Anything else though that we might want to directly attack? So first off, the 26th Army over here is really weak in terms of its morale and all that. This army is pretty good, and we might just devastate actually this Italian corps. And even some of the Germans wouldn't really be immune to us. On the other hand, we do run the risk of being flanked over here and being flanked pretty badly actually. And we do need to reinforce this position definitively. At the very least we need to pull back our AA, and I don't think we can pull it back towards the north, so have to probably pull it back towards this direction. And then can we really prevent the tanks from coming in towards Kiev? Could probably send them towards the marshes at the very least. I mean, the 9th Corps over here is not strong, but I doubt the Germans will be able to push too strongly over here. And then this corps can simply come in towards this Italian position. Yeah, that looks about reasonable, to be honest. I mean, your morale and readiness and all of that is not great. But I think we will be fine over here. And on this side, we'll simply withdraw behind the river, I think. And that should be very good for us, I believe. Our tanks actually have good readiness, so that is something that we want to definitively make a little bit better. So who are we actually supporting over here? We can't possibly break these guys. So I'm actually tempted to kill the Italians simply and be able to pull in our troops a little bit. That wouldn't be the worst. Our readiness of this army is really, really high. Okay, let's do it. On the other hand, also let's keep in mind our tactical bombers and see whether there's anything that we'd want to do. Can't really do anything in the south. Our range is too low. So we have to be a little bit closer towards our bases actually. Yeah, well, we could lower their morale just a little bit. We would be using our fighters in support, and that typically doesn't turn out too good for us. But then again... Okay, so firstly, let's kill the Italians. Very nice, good result. Secondly, bring in someone over here. And that does allow us to keep the AA where it is. Now it shouldn't be these guys, because you really should be coming in here so that we are preventing these guys from being cut off. The guys in Kiev can simply be reinforced, even though they have very low morale. I don't think they'll be able to push too much over here. This position we might lose, but you know, that's just how it is. Right, now we can bring someone in over here. And I do actually think that needs to be you. So let's bring you over here and let's see what you can do. Not much, as expected. You are fine though. You are simply dinging in. And this mechanized force I do not want to risk anywhere really. So these guys are fine behind where they are. And then we can pull these two guys back. And that does leave the question of what we want to do with our tanks. So we could attack with the mechanized forces, just reduce their strength a little bit, except that we are taking some losses. And then come in with our tanks, do some more damage, just a little bit. So yeah, I think that's what we're actually going to try, simply to reduce their main hitting power over here, which definitively is this tank division. So let's firstly try to soften them up just a little bit. Okay, so we are being intercepted, but we do have escorts, so let's see how that turns out. We will be losing something over here. So firstly, they're losing 2, we are losing 4. Yeah, see, that is a horrible, horrible result. Yeah, we're really not doing that great. Okay, we can pull these guys a little towards the front. Their morale has dropped. So yeah, let's do this attack, even though we are suffering more from that than they are, and we're suffering pretty badly over here. Then we can pull you back. Bring in these tanks. Conduct another strike over here. That is very bad for us. Oh, actually not that bad. It's actually not too bad. So that means we can bring up more troops. Now, the mechanized forces don't really get there, unfortunately. The mechanized troops actually don't really get that much to the front anyway. That is a bit discerning. Okay, so well, we can pull you back towards over here. Then we can bring you just over the river. And you, unfortunately, will not be able to come over there. But you guys might. We do not have further reserves, so you are indeed going to come over here. And you know what? I do want to take this attack. Nice. Very nice. Good. So we did manage to destroy some heavy German tanks, and I'm extremely happy about that result. You can believe me that. Right, so over here though, these mechanized forces will simply withdraw. Yeah, okay. So that does make sense. You're withdrawing over here. You're also withdrawing behind the river. Just a tactical retreat over here, really. And that should be fine and lovely. And you can come up towards the road and form up our reserves over there. And I think that's very fine and dandy. Other than that, there's nothing that I do believe we can. Oh, we can reinforce you a little bit, so that's what we're going to do. Right, other than that, though, not much else to do down here. So we can bring these fighters up a little bit. I guess we can just scoot out a little bit to see whether there's any particular target over here. Otherwise, we'll simply withdraw with our light cruisers after dealing some damage to them. Even if it's not the most, but that should be fine. Good. Okay, so tactical withdrawal, defeat of one important enemy unit over here, and other than that, just trying to stabilize our lines, which I think is fine. So for the south, that really is it. For the north, we do see that the Germans have reinforced their tanks. Other than that, though, our line pretty much holds out nicely, actually. So that is okay, even though if some of these forces are starting to wear a little thin. So, ooh, this is surprisingly fair trade. This is surprising, really. I mean, these are not the best tanks, but still. Okay, so yeah, let's attack with the power troopers. Of course, much worse result than expected. Okay, the garrison or the corps in Minsk can be simply reinforced. The army in Vilnius I'm worried about, so we'll have to potentially bring you back. On the other hand, who's gonna attack you? Well, they will probably bomb this field strongly, and the readiness and morale really is low over here. Oh, by the way, we do need to reinforce this garrison. That's pretty clear. Can't reinforce you because you're attacked, of course. Could pull in the cavalry over here. Try to attack the corps. Sorry, the headquarter unit in Kaunas. Would be kind of funny, but would also be kind of YOLO. This would be a tempting attack. You guys are all actually surprisingly fine, except for this 16th Rifle Corps. Now we do have some reinforcements coming up over here, but they need to be brought up to speed. We also have this artillery brigade. And you know what, I think it's fair to keep you where you are and just reinforce you so that you can spit out some morale damage on these guys, on these tanks. Ideally, I would like to do more damage towards these tanks, but I do not think that that is something that we can immediately do. Oh, there's a German anti-air unit. That's interesting to see. They don't typically tend to have these. Yeah, but it's well positioned, I have to say. So bring you up a little bit towards the south, and I think that's going to be alright. We have a couple of heavy tanks as well. You could potentially strike at some of these tanks. So this might be the best attack that we can do over here. So let's start out with this. Very good result actually. This army is fine then. Yeah, so I think what we need to do is, well, firstly reinforce these engineers. So everyone in the second line is now reinforced. And that is fine. Has anyone got these guys? Yeah, you got these guys. No one has that army up here. Nor this one. Okay, so you detach this army. Can now pull it back. bring in these guys towards Vilnius. And that should be fine. And then you can be simply reinforced. You could deal some damage on these Germans. Or you could reinforce, but you know what? I think doing damage is slightly better over here, so let's do that. And that does bring us to the question, what to do over here. So I'm thinking these guys can be pulled back. Bring up the army. Try to defeat this German corps. Shattered. Very nice. Very, very good result for us over here. Yeah, so yeah, actually very happy about how that turn is going for the Soviets so far, with the exception of these paratroopers. So these paratroopers really need to be withdrawn a little over here, so that you can ultimately reinforce. And we're simply gonna bring you back like that. Even though the morale of the 6th Corps over here is not the greatest, we are gonna bring it up as such and be able to defend the line over here. So pretty static line down here. Bit more pressure on this part of the front, which I'm actually pretty happy about. So yeah, that is good. We do have these heavy tanks though. Okay, let's bring you up over here. I think that's gonna be alright. Yeah, and then everyone else is more or less fine. And this army will reinforce next turn. And these tactical bombers simply maybe should be a little bit positioned differently. Let's bring it down a little, just so we have a little bit more flexibility over here with attacking some of these guys. That should be fine. We also have these fighters. I would like to reinforce you, but I think you actually have to primarily withdraw. Let's pull you back like that. I'm actually thinking where these guys can go. Can you cut us off? I do not believe you can, but I'm actually not sure. We also have one more new unit that we can position, and as the USSR, that is the 1st Special Unit Forces group, which historically was active in the south over here, in the southern area. Could position you over here so that you're cutting against these tanks up a little bit, but what we actually might do is prepare naval invasion with the Soviets. We could land potentially over here and then come up against an attack that would be going this way, and I think that is something that we might want to do. So we'll put you in Purno for now, where you can reinforce, and I think that will allow us very nicely to conduct our forces over here. Very good so far. I'm pretty happy actually. So with the exception of these armies, everyone else is fine or needs to be, well, some of these guys need to be reinforced, but then again, you are where you are. There is still definitely a big threat coming from these German units. I mean, these are 2 armies and a tank division and another army, so I very heavily suspect that there will be a lot of fighting down here. But where exactly we can't tell. Also, this corps is hanging just between all of these guys. Can you actually reinforce? You can't reinforce. And your morale is pretty low, but yeah, we'll have to see a little bit. Your supplies are only 4, so your action points should be a little bit lower. But I also don't want to get attacked just by that, so let's pull the headquarter down a little bit. Sukhov, who is a very, very good general, by the way. These guys all have rating 5 or 6, which is not the greatest. We could actually think about replacing you with the number 7, but that would cost a pretty high amount of points actually, so not sure I want to do this. Then that does leave us with potentially researching a little bit, or buying some new units. Is there anything that we do need in terms of research as the USSR? Well, advanced tanks are definitively nice, armored warfare is nice, but we are researching that already. Command and control would be extremely useful, as would industrial technology. I'm tempted to invest in industrial technology. It is winter, so I'm expecting that there's not immediately going to be too much of a fight right now. But then again, that does also apply to buying forces, because it does take a while until these guys would show up on the battlefield. There are no tanks that we can buy. There are some heavy tanks that we could buy. And that is actually tempting, because these guys are, in theory, pretty good at attacking tanks. Production delay in month, so it would take 3 months for these guys to be ready, so they'd be ready in February, which would potentially open them up for a March offensive. Not a very bad investment, I think. 171 points. 189 points if we buy them with the upgrade already. There are potentially some armies that we can replace as well. But they would be taking not that long anyway, so probably not that important. We could also think about buying a new headquarter unit, which we'd just be able to purchase. And I think that might actually be a very, very good investment. But you know what? We do have the discount, because the first guard tank unit was defeated over here. So okay, what I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna buy them like such. Then they will be ready in February. In February we will not be able to conduct much of a fight, and then we can upgrade them in February, March, and that does leave us enough points. So that should leave us about more than 200, and that does mean that I'm going to invest more in research, and specifically into... Oh, I didn't realize that these had different costs. And specifically more in industrial technology, and that's going to be alright. That does allow us to advance this a little bit more aggressively, and I'm pretty happy about that. We can also, just for the sake of it, move some of these destroyers, and pretend that we do need to worry about the German fleets, even though we know that pretty much all of the German fleets are dead, as we should see over here. So just one German naval unit, and I do think that that is a submarine somewhere in the Mediterranean. Good, that does about settle it for the USSR. Next time around we will take care of the Allies, especially around the North African theatre, and across the Norwegian approach, and of course with the Guadalcanal campaign. So very excited about that, but yeah, that's gonna have to wait until next time. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys around. Bye bye.